You are now listening.
You are now listening
to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.
Welcome back to the BMEA Podcast, Lifting Our Voices. I am here with the Honorable Dr. Curtis L. Lewis. How you doing, good brother?
I'm good, man. Hey, this empty spot, it seems weird. We usually have somebody right here. I feel like I want to like get in the middle or something.
This your man Chris, man.
Let's move, man. Let's like.
You try to tell us what to do, man. You know?
I know.
You gonna mess the cameras up. That's all right, man. But how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Just talking about your daughter's penny. Go ahead.
Congratulations to my beautiful daughter who's graduating from DCAS Tech High School in Detroit, Michigan. They had the most illustrious, drawn out senior pinning I've ever experienced in my life.
Okay.
But it was great to see her mom pin her.
Coming, you know?
Yeah, one more. They coming. I'm getting them out the pipe. But Jonah is slowly going through. But how about yourself, man?
I'm doing well, man. Just grinding. We had a long past 2 weeks we're going to get to in a second, but it's good to be back. Good to see the boys in the mentoring program. So I tapped in with them, and they missed us. So yeah, you know, kids always kind of like recharge.
Oh, y'all been gone for 2 weeks.
Kids recharge me, man. So the Clark boys, shout out to Jay Clark. They were happy to see us. Tomorrow we get to see our Detroit Achievement Academy. Boys. So that's good, man. I want to get right into what's new with BMEA. Before we get into what we've been doing, what we got coming up. For those who don't know, maybe haven't been following us on Instagram and Facebook, which make sure you guys do.
Please do.
We have the BMEA Gala coming June 3rd. A long time coming, right?
Gala. You gonna say gala?
You know, I'm a dated kind of guy.
I'm gala. I like gala sounds better.
Gala.
I know. I'm like
it's more elegant.
Yeah, gala. The gala.
So, you know, we want to celebrate educators. We've been doing that as an organization. This idea we've had for just a night to dress up, celebrate our educators, come together as a community. And we want to make sure we continue to be able to do this every year. Also to raise, you know, funds for, you know, our mentoring program or wellness programs that we're going to talk a bit more about. But really just to give Detroit, you know, and Michigan in general, just an event to really like lift up our educators and do all the hard work.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. People seem to be, it's a buzz out there about it. I sit on another board for another school district, and one of the people who work for the management company is like, man, you got a lot going on. I'm so excited about your gala. I don't think she said gala, but she said your gala. But I'm saying gala, yeah. But so, and I was like, I didn't even know she was even, you know, following us like that. So people seem to be pretty excited about it. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. The planning is on the way. Planning these things amongst the other things that we got going on. It's a lot going on. Right. Good stuff, though. Good stuff.
Yeah,
man.
Shout out to our wonderful planning team. Shout out Stacy because, you know, event planning is no.
Stacy Lynette Williams. Shout out.
Shout her out. Love. And
Sarah Watson helping out too.
Shout out Sarah Watson. Absolutely. Friend of the show, friend of the family, honestly.
Yeah. Very close friend of the family.
Very close. And not only just having this event, we're also going to be giving some awards out.
Yeah.
So I want to let the people know what's going to be really important into the next couple weeks. Coming up into the actual event is that we're going to be able to nominate a few awards. So we have Community Change Agent Award, we have Transformational Leader Award for like administrator, principal, like that. We have the Student Change Agent Award, as well as the Big Teacher Award, which is our Transformative Educator of the Year Award. So you can vote for those. Go to the BMEA website, blackmaleeducatorsalliance.org. All the links in there for you to purchase your ticket, for you to be a sponsor, because I know I've talked sometimes about, you know, getting their business a sponsor, as well as to nominate, you know, whoever you want to nominate, a great educator, a great professional, a great student, to be a part of this game. And get your tickets soon, because you know, obviously a lot of people are interested in. You know, next year will be bigger, but we got back out the Charles Wright Museum. The Charles H. Wright Museum. Which is a really nice venue.
It's a very nice venue. I'm looking forward to having that.
This will actually be my first event at the
really?
I saw the pictures. It's really nice. So.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. We did the 40 under 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you? I felt like
So
you
I did
were
go
there.
to the Charles Wright Museum.
Did you go
That
there?
is the 40 on the 40, right. You can take me there. That was like years ago when I first got to Detroit.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, no, I do like that spot.
Yeah.
I do like that spot.
Yeah.
So that's really dope. Like I said, get your tickets. I'm gonna have to get a tux. You know,
Yeah, I'm gonna be sharp. We're gonna be
Okay.
sharp. We're gonna be
Yeah.
sharp. We're gonna be sharp.
Let me know when you get your tux. I
Yeah.
know when to get my
Yeah,
tux.
yeah. We're gonna be sharp.
Absolutely. So outside of that, we spent the last 2 weeks going to education conferences with our wellness PLCs. Can you tell people a little bit about our PLCs and then also why you wanted them to go on these conferences?
Yeah, man. So I'll try to keep it brief because I get hype about this. One, we got to do a better job of taking care of ourselves in general, right? And so, like, to do this work, it takes a lot out of you emotionally, mentally, and therefore physically as well. And so I think it's important for us to spend time supporting people around their wellness emotionally, mentally, physically. On top of how do you do that, but also do transformational work, transformative work. Like it's hard to do that. That's very taxing, right? When you're doing work for social justice or doing all those kind of, the freedom fighter kind of work, it takes a lot out of you. So doing both, like supporting how do you take care of yourself while you do the work. So wanting to do that for the teachers and principals. It's also a way, part of our recruitment strategy, to retain people in a profession by creating a support system for them. And one of the things I've been, complaining about, I think K-12 schools are oftentimes anti-intellectual, unfortunately, because we just don't do as much thinking and pushing ourselves to be thinkers in the K-12 spaces. And I know there's a lot of research and work being done at the higher ed space. And so there's a gap between the research that's happening at the higher ed and what's happening at our K-12 schools. So it's important for me, for the organization, that we give our fellows an opportunity to be involved and getting to know people and being in spaces where they get to learn more, research about their craft, meet people who are doing research around the things that they're trying to figure out. And so just being amongst a different group of folks, like-minded folks, who are interested in, like, how do we transform this thing called school? So I really am a strong believer in that, and I just know it's important. Even as a principal, my staff read books. We read books. We read articles to continue to get better. And so that's the same thing that we're doing here with the fellowships.
I might be a biased opinion, but I really think it is a game changer to be able to have teachers who might not have normally been able to afford to go to a conference. And not only is an opportunity to get away a little bit from home, but really, like you said, learn what's happening in these conferences. So a lot of people are pushing the educational narrative and like the research and these going on, but there's a disconnect between what's happening in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Before I met you, I haven't gone to any education conferences. I figured it was for the higher ups, the CEOs and stuff. But you get an opportunity to really open your mind to what's possible, and then also like what's available. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned before, you get locked into like just surviving every day, putting the work in front of you, lesson planning, and doing what's told. But as an educator, in your heart of hearts, you want to change it. You want to make it better. And we have these teachers who all are in the profession to make it better for our children, but are bogged down by the structures and the system. So I think just an opportunity to go on top of the fact that they have this wellness PLC, right?
Yes.
And I know people are going to be able to see a little bit of their testimonials, but like really them being able to have this support group is going to be crucial for like just an idea of how we retain teachers in general. So we actually have a clip that's going to show you guys a little bit of our journey through Chicago when we went to AERA conference, as well as the ASU-GSV conference in San Diego with our principals. So let's take a look.
BMEA's focus on teacher and principal wellness is extremely important. Our teacher and principal wellness program focuses on providing a community of learners who are engaged and really being very hyper-focused on their own personal growth. So we focus on their mental, emotional, and physical wellness. We have a licensed therapist that provides that support for them on a monthly basis.
That has been a game changer for me. I feel like he is able to understand me first and foremost. Never thought I would have a black therapist. I really think that was the first time that I actually spoke with somebody in that field that I felt like could understand and relate the struggles that I'm going through in the education field.
He's holding me accountable for some goals that I've set for myself. And so for me, I appreciate that.
They also have a community of learners that are gathered to learn about who they are as Black educators and how their identity influence how they engage with children in their classroom.
It's wonderful, man. There's only one way I can explain it, is that it has been a great benefit to me to thought partner with other like-minded individuals to ensure that we are well in this space of education.
It's just been an incredible experience, just meeting other people in the cohort and just hearing their experiences, realizing that you're not alone.
The dap, the hug, the love, the energy, it is transformational.
This program really helped me to take a look at the fact that as I'm doing all that lesson planning, don't forget to put myself on that agenda and make sure that I adhere to it.
Finally, we also have an opportunity for them as a community of learners to attend educational research conference that is focused on them going in and learning about areas of interest that they feel can help them be better educators for their children.
It's been great, a lot of great energy. The sessions have been very well put together. There's been a couple sessions where it's standing room only.
This has been a very overwhelmingly amazing experience, being around so many different educators and professionals that are just, we're all on the same page, we're gelling. It's just been very enlightening.
These are the three pieces that BMEA believes is extremely important as we begin to talk about this idea of wellness. Wellness is not simply focused on just making sure you're taking care of yourself, but also making sure that you feel that you are in a community of learners and people who can help you and hold you accountable, but also get an opportunity to feel supported and feel that you're having an opportunity to grow professionally.
BMEA should be expanded to everybody in the city. Like this is, for those who might see this who are not part of this organization, you need to do so as soon as possible. The work is great, and I look forward to my continuous being a part of this as well.
Man, so as you can hear, man, like it's really been transformational. This is their first year. People want to come back year after year. So I just, because we're doing God's work, I know we'll be blessed to be able to expand this work and do it more, not only for Detroit, but for Michigan and for other cities.
Yes.
But really, and to be honest, it was really fun to kind of just really spend time with them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? With educators. I know people can do this on their own time, but I think that, and I think you heard from the principals too, like oftentimes they don't have the time to really get up with people who are like-minded, who are doing the work, to mix a little bit of fun with, because we talk about all the time bringing joy back in education.
Man.
We got to. This profession is suffering.
Oh, man.
Mentally, spiritually, physically.
It's a joy drainer.
It's a joy drainer.
Joy drainer.
And I honestly, I feel like people are afraid to put joy in
there. Yeah. Having fun is not what we're supposed to do, right? I mean, you see our group meetings, man, they have taken off. Those, like the Teacher Wellness group, they met up a week after just as a follow-up, and they continue to check in on each other. The principals are sending each other encouraging words on the group meet. So like they had, so to see, and I'll talk about the principal fellowship when we went to San Diego too, after the Chicago trip, man, to see these grown men, some of them older than me, just be boys, because oftentimes Black men don't have the opportunity to be boys. Yeah. They turn 3 or 4 years old, 5, 6, now you got to be a young man or a grown an adult, right? Yeah. And that's not because the household, it's society treats them as such, right? Yeah. And so to see these grown men see the boy come out of them, they just was at the Sunset Clips, just like enjoying. Man, it was just on every morning went on a walk. Every morning went on a walk.
Eating together.
Yes.
Right? We talk about breaking bread as a part of the community.
Yes.
This clip that we're about to show, to me, is like one of the best like recruitment pieces for like why you should join the PLC. If you're in education in the classroom, like this is it. Let's go to it real quick. And so, you know, one of my favorite conferences we went to in San Diego, the ASU-GSV conference. At first, I just didn't understand it for us because I was like, that's ed tech. But it was really interesting, one, seeing where people are going with education, because I think that we can't ignore it.
Yeah.
We can't ignore the technology piece. Like, I'm a humanist guy. I like to, like, I think, listen, the most important thing in the school community is the people. But I also recognize how, you know, when we're looking at learning, things are going to be moving with or without us, right? So tell me how you feel, really, the biggest topics with the ChatGPT, right? And this AI and how it's going to be really influencing learning and teaching. What are your thoughts about that, just briefly?
I don't know, you saw me, that article you sent me too in China,
Yeah.
China with the AI.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll be brief. I don't know, man. I think there's a need, and I know as an organization we're gonna be making that shift as well, of figuring out how do we bring technology into our school spaces and the work we do. So, you know, I told you I got the big, I just bought the VR, the virtual reality, what is those called? Those, whatever it's called, Oculus, whatever. So I play with my son has one too. And I read the fine print. It said very loud and clear that they need to be at the age of 13 and older, but I was like, well, whatever. I'm sure other ethnicities and other groups of people, kids are doing this before 13. Yeah. So anyways, Jonah loves it. So we was playing around with it the other day, and he was teaching me how to play. He's so into it, right? And there's so many opportunities, games, and all this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna learn about it so that he was laughing at me too, actually, because I couldn't climb this thing. So, but I wanna learn more about it because people are creating activities and games and school-related things now as we speak for schools, and I want to get on it. I want to get on that and have us as an organization get on that. So, I think sometimes we can go too far too quick, but I do think that the stuff is shifting.
I think the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from the conference, shout out Tiffany Taylor too.
Tiffany Taylor, shout out.
Put it together.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from this conference and listening to these ed tech people talk is that we need to make sure that our voice is at that table,
right,
so that our children are being thought about.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to these math sessions, and I'm going to these conferences, and I'm like, were any of our children thought about in the making of these things, and are you still thinking about them when it comes to like the effects, the progress, the achievements, all of those things? So I think that's the biggest piece. Like, there are pros and cons, and probably forced things we're not seeing yet, but I don't want our children to be left out.
Yeah.
You know. And so, speaking of our children, we got some current events going on. Shout out to Marygrove School, the Marygrove Conservatory. So they got a school. The students there were doing a water lead testing project, right? So real world, application of testing the water, and they found, levels of lead in the water. That prompted them to go to, the superintendent to talk about testing the schools, testing all the DPS CD schools, making sure the lead wasn't in the water. And I thought that was so interesting because, one, we already know that they should be drinking water in those schools. But two, like, this is the type of stuff, AI excluded, that like our kids should be really working on. Like, how do we make changes in our own communities, like right now?
I thought you were required. When I was running schools, we were required to get lead testing. Maybe there's certain school districts that require that, but that's interesting. So
I think that the article read that the traces were as maybe didn't meet the requirement for like shut down completely. But I know even since teaching in Baltimore City, like public schools, water just wasn't good. That's why you drink bottled water and water jugs because buildings are old and things like that. But I also think that like, and not just in Michigan, but a lot of other states, like public schools are kind of being left to kind of like rot in a sense physically. As money goes to other institutions and more, places that got more money that have better situations, but also areas, Detroit, Flint, Benton Harbor or whatever, Baltimore, those cities have lead water issues. You know what I mean? So I'm just glad to see that, those articles, that's something that Lane, he did all the time when we did our science PBLs, project-based learning. So it was really interesting to see that. Sidetrack. Speaking of C, did you watch the fight? No. You missed it?
I saw it. Shout out to one of my students. I don't know, it was Renzo Alonzo, one of the twins. had it going on his Instagram Live.
Oh man, look at him, man of the people.
And so he was, and I was very surprised that Instagram kept it up for the entirety of the 18 minutes of the fight. So I got to get on his live and watch the fight, and it was a good shot. Like, it wasn't, you know how you think they was like trying to like take it out or make it like, no, it was very clear that, you know, and people were there, and I said, shout out to you, because I wasn't paying the money for that. The last fight I paid for was Tyson and Holyfield, Tyson and the dude from England, Britain. Lennox Lewis. That probably was the last one. Because I you know, after that, man, I just get like, the fight be 15 minutes. They gonna show the clips. I'm not into boxing like I'm used to be anyway, so it's kind of like.
No, I got you.
I let y'all get hype, and somebody gonna post something.
Yeah, it was interesting. I feel like this fight was like the first time I kind of maybe even was like looking forward for real. I mean, outside of Floyd stuff, it's kind of dying down, so it was interesting. But it was a good fight. I mean, it was one-sided for sure.
Yeah.
It was exciting to see.
I let y'all have that, man. I just, you know, some things I'm just like.
Yeah, no, I got you. Shout out to the twins.
Shout out to the twins, man. Now it's no longer available though. I think it's still too late now though. But like, he had like 10 people there watching it. Like, man, it's crazy. Shout out to him though.
Man, and have you been able to catch a little bit of NBA playoffs?
Yeah, I have. I've been, man, you know, Lakers looking. It's a matchup issue, I think, between them and Memphis. It's a matchup issue.
So if you make a prediction, you can watch a month from now, 2 months from now. Who you think coming out the West?
It's gonna be probably Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay, that's a solid prediction.
Yeah, Phoenix is coming out the West, and the East.
Because Miami did just beat the Bucks.
They up 3-1, I think.
So I'm gonna say this: a couple weeks ago, I placed a $1 wager on Phoenix and Celtics. So let's see if if I'm right. Phoenix Celtics. That's what I thought. This was right after the KD trade.
Yeah, Milwaukee go down, but isn't what's his name out hurt? Giannis.
Well, he played his first game was the game they just lost, so they could come back. So we'll see. But either way, I think
they get them out. That's huge.
It is very.
That's huge.
So it's exciting. So I'm glad that it's not like easy blowouts this first round. So I'll be keep up with that. We got the NBA draft, another NFL draft coming on Thursday. So
Bears, yes.
The Bears.
We've been rocking it, man. We've been telling we are. You see it here. Live in Detroit, the Bears are going to the playoffs.
Shout out to the Bears.
The Bears are going to win the Central Division. Mark my word. Everybody got hyped on the Lions because they had a string of wins at the end. Got it. Watch. Golf is so inconsistent. Just watch. Nobody's gonna lay down on them anymore because they got people attention. Trust me. They're going to go back to bloopers and dropping the ball and stuff, missing field goals.
You saw they just had all them players get suspended for gambling.
The Lions, see? You know what I'm saying?
For gambling in the facility.
See what I'm saying? They got carried away.
So, more of the story, people don't sports gamble at work. I'll leave that with you. With that. So, getting back to the education a little bit, man, just, I think, we saw a video, and this is one of the topics that is really tough. That's why I wanted to bring it up. People have been watching all these viral videos of kids getting into fights with teachers and substitutes and all those things. There's one in particular where, the young lady got into a fight with a lady and her teacher eventually broke her leg. So we just found out that the young lady got charged a felony and is going to spend a year in juvenile detention. And so there's obviously mixed emotions about that. A lot of people on one side are saying that, these kids are out of control, they need to be harsher punishments. There's actually, just read an article from Chalkbeat that said a lot of the lawmakers in different states are trying to up the severity of punishments for students and give teachers more power to apprehend them and physically move them. And on the other side of things, obviously, you have people who are saying that we need more support services for students mentally to deal with anger and also to just deal with conflict resolution. I know your thoughts. I do want to have you share.
You know my thoughts, my dude.
I think I know where you're going to go.
Where do you think I'm going to go with it?
I don't know. I'll let you tell the people.
You want me to tell the people?
I do.
Because I've actually been thinking about this a lot. And, we do our work. A foundation of our work is rooted in restorative practices. But I tell people all the time, and I teach this course, restorative practices is not absent of accountability. Right? And so some people think that's the case. I think she should be absolutely held accountable. In detention center, like whatever that is.
Yeah.
But while she's in detention center, I think there needs to be intentional support around figuring out, how to support her so that when she's re-entering, because that should be consequential. Like you can't. I mean, like we have to understand that it's not one or. It's not an either or kind of thing. It's a both and. Yeah. Like we're gonna hold you accountable, but I'm also gonna support you. So it's high level support, high level accountability. I believe in that strongly. And so, yes, like that one video it bothered because I'm like, man, and this teacher really did everything you asked somebody to do. Walk away, turn around, walk away, go get help, somebody come get her. Even when the girl started hitting her, she didn't hit back at her until she brought her down, right? I mean, geez, and we gotta be real around this, right? And now I'm about to get me hyped, but I'm not gonna go there. This for another show because I said this in a post on Facebook like last week or something. There's not enough fingers to point the blame. There's so many levels to this, right? Mm-hmm. But we have to also, because there's a space and a culture in that school that I think needs to be shifted, right? For sure. That we're entering that space. There's obviously something else going on with this young lady as well that we need to support, right? We doing work around a lot of men, a lot of our young boys, but our young ladies need support too. So we need, shout out, like we need just as many mentoring programs for our young ladies. I know we focus a lot on young men for a lot of reasons, rightfully so, as we should. But our black young ladies are also struggling as well. Absolutely. And so we because these last two videos that I've been seeing, most of them have been little girls, black girls on black women. Right? And so there's something to that we need to uncover and unpack. So I do hold them accountable for sure, hold her accountable for sure, but without any kind of support, then we just recycling the issue, right? And we need to really deal with the root. So did you think I was gonna say that?
I did think you were gonna say both.
Okay.
I did think you were gonna say both. My only uncertainty was about the juvenile center. Like I was like, did you feel like it was harsh for her to have to get the felony? And I do think
she went on push. She attacked and broke her. I mean, and the lady got. And here's the thing: we are an organization that supports children and adults, and all our work is for the support of kids. At the end of the day, everything that we do, we want to impact kids. So all day, I'm an advocate for children, but I'm also an advocate for the adults that's in these spaces. That we got to make sure they're good and safe, which is why we have these programs that we're doing our fellowships. Yeah. So I think we can do both. We got to and putting people in jail is not going to solve the problem. Right. However, I do think there needs to be consequences, right? And I do think whether it was a detention center or a facility or a home where we're teaching her some skills on how to deal with conflict, because that was conflict management gone wrong. Just chill out. Why are you? But that young lady didn't just go off like that. There's something rooted there that we got to get to.
Absolutely, and I think my friends ask me all the time when they see these videos. They send me these videos all the time. I'm like, man, what would you do? And it's like I've been in the classroom. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not that I haven't been there. It's what I know is important is what leads up to that.
Yeah.
And so it's not about how you respond, it's how you proactively about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's not saying this is the teacher's fault at all. I think to your point, we do have to do something better with schools that help support students dealing with conflict and just dealing with their mental health, period. I also think that these lawmakers are trying to slowly convert. This helps them.
Yeah.
These fights help their cause.
It's prison.
And so I think always the biggest question is, people say, all right, we know what we need to do with schools, we know what support we need, but what do we do with parents? Because that's what comes up too when you see these kids fighting. And everyone needs a finger pointed at them, for sure. Mm-hmm. I think that I don't have the answer, but I do think we still have to figure out how do we bring the family closer into the school community so that we can help them. Yeah. Because I don't think people know what to do with their kids. A lot of people don't know what to do with their kids. It could be that they're doing the wrong thing, but it could be that they're doing the wrong thing because they don't know, right? And you talk about yourself. Discipline, accountability and love and learning is not separate from discipline. Yeah. A lot of people need to understand that. Yeah. And I do think that is not only a learned technique, but it's a understanding and skill that you need to have to do parenting well. You know what I mean? And even well parenting is not going to like catch all the mistakes, but I do also think that we've seen children come in there with parents that have maybe done their best, but their best wasn't really mitigating a lot of those issues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I mean, you know, as an organization, we're gonna continue to focus and hyper focus even more on the community, on the family component of the work, because without that, you know, and like I said, we're asking people to, you know, raise kids in an environment they're not even used to. That having social media, that's a whole nother parent.
Yeah.
So you got like 3 parents, right? You got mom, dad, grandma, whoever, and then you got social media is also parenting some of our children, right? And so we have to closely monitor that as well, because, you know, and people always say on social media, why they pick up the phone? Because this is what people do. This is what everybody do. Everybody wants to get the recording. So like, stop asking the why, right? Because it's not going to stop.
That's exactly how you watch it.
That's how you watching it, right? And so like, let's get to the root of why a lot of these things are happening. But man, we got to have a segment, another show on just the, and maybe you have bring some more kids here to just talk to them about why, they've been, it's the enforcing the curfew in Detroit and in Chicago. You know, when it was warm a couple of weeks ago, they stormed downtown and, whatever. And, I can say a lot about that, but I do want to talk to some of these kids and be like, get from them their perspective of the why behind this piece, right? We got programs. Do we have enough programs? No, but there's just this is so layered that it's hard to just say, oh, blame the parents, find the parents, right? Some of those kids, I'm sure the parents thought they were probably somewhere else, but they were not, right? Like, I'm sure all those parents yeah, go do what you want to do. Yeah, I want you to go down there and destroy downtown. I'm sure their parents are not saying that. Right. So we're making assumptions on what's happening in the household, which I think is unfair. Instead of us pointing fingers, because there's enough to go around, we need to sit down and have a community conversation. But community, and going out in here, community is lost upon us, right? We've lost community in schools, we lost community in the community. And so people, as you see in our own fellowships, people need community. Yeah. Our fellowships is literally thriving because people want to be in a community of like-minded folks. And so we have to be intentional. Because of social media and all these other things that's dividing us, it's not that easy and think that people just going to come together and the community is going to be built without people being intentional about creating the structures and the activities and things that's going to actually help to mold a solid community in our schools and within our societal community as well.
No, absolutely. That last point, like, how do you create a community? It isn't just, bring people in. No. So these teacher wellness, this principal wellness, these communities are intentionally built, and you can see how the impact has been immediate. And another part of that is this is how it's spreads to the schools, right? The principals are able to kind of take these practices to their school. Our teachers are able to take that to their classrooms, right? And we're actually going to show one of our teachers in the PLC soon, but one thing I thought about when I thought about reflecting on my classroom, why I didn't have those interactions. I've had conflict, but the interactions were different because I created community first and foremost. And no matter what was going on with you at your home, no matter what was going on in other classrooms, that I had your back, and that our differences would be resolved because I care about you either way, right? And if that means I'm not going to die on that hill today because I know you're in a bad mood, or if that means I got to push you a little harder, you know that it ain't personal. That community part is important. And then also just understanding when kids need a break, understanding when I need a break so I don't go crazy, or I'm tripping. So that's absolutely, I think you're absolutely on point about that community piece. And speaking of Chicago, you got a chance to visit one of the teachers in this classroom.
It's some good stuff going on. I can't wait to show the clip because I know we just talked about all the stuff, a little bit of the stuff that's not going so well in schools, but there's some people out here grinding it out, doing the best they can for our children, and I'm excited that we're beginning to highlight some of these black male educators, and we'll be doing it over the next few weeks, highlighting those folks throughout the podcast. But
and black males in unique spaces.
And
right? When this is Mr. Clark, he was at an alternative school that is dominant Hispanic. So as a black man representing in that space is important. And so with our next black male educator, Mr. Pierce, he's actually an elementary teacher. And there's not a lot of black men in elementary schools, right? And Chicago being like the fourth largest public school district,
third.
It was just fell behind Miami. This is recent.
That's not accurate. I'm like, that's not accurate. I gotta see that. Don't do that. You gotta let me know. I gotta see that. I don't know. I don't know. When is this? Yesterday? I want to see the data.
When I interviewed him, man, he
said fourth.
No, I looked it up myself.
He said we third.
He said we third too. And I was like, the article said y'all just fell.
Yeah, no, I think they be hating on Chicago. Nah, Miami-Dade.
So
how they gonna have the biggest? They ain't got even the fifth largest population. How that don't make no sense? But go ahead. Go ahead, dog.
Very good point. And so, no, Mr. Pierce Boyd-Bagby, he is an elementary educator working in one of the public schools in Chicago. And it was really great to talk to him. But I'm gonna let us just take a look at the clip. All right. Well, I'm sitting here with Pierce Boyd-Bagby, one of our teachers and our principal of Teacher Wellness PLC, as well as a Black Male Educator here in Chicago. Pierce, how you doing today?
Good. Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, nice to see you as well. Thank you for having us at your school, man. And first, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and then how you got into education.
Well, originally I majored in political science in undergrad, and I really just wanted to impact the community. I grew up in the neighborhood called Oak Park, which is right next door to one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in Chicago called Austin. And just the difference between my school and the other school, I just wanted to make a change. Kids look just like me, a few blocks down, had a completely different reality of their life. Right?
Okay.
So I wanted to do political science because I really wanted to help the community. I had to do something inside of a school for a project that we were doing, and I just fell in love with the way that I was actually able to help people.
Absolutely, that's dope, man. And you know, you're actually working at elementary school, K-8, right? And so, you know, when we look at a lot of black male teachers, when they go into this space, a lot of them are in the secondary, a lot of them end up going into like discipline or, you know, administration. So tell us more about like your experiences being a black man in the elementary space.
Yeah, I mean, long term I would like to go into administration, but for now it was really important for me to help with the students. There are a lot of things, especially for parents and students, that they just don't know that they have to do. In Chicago public schools, there's standardized tests that students need to take in order to get into different selective enrollment schools.
Right.
And some parents don't even know that that's an option, right? You just send your kid to the next neighborhood school. So little things like that, I really wanted to make sure that parents at a young age started like with a great understanding of what their kids had to do to be successful in education.
And how have parents and students embraced you since you've been an educator?
Yeah, I always make this joke. People will ask, oh, I bet your kids love you. And I'm like, well, it depends on the day because I'm really firm in my practices, right? The kids have a lot to learn. And unfortunately, due to COVID and a lot of other factors within the city, right, we're already starting at a disadvantage. So when we get in, it's fun, but it's business, right? And the parents, it's the same thing. You need to make sure that your students in school and there's certain expectations for what they have to do with their students as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Chicago being, I think now it's the fourth largest public school district in the country.
I think we're the third.
Yeah, well, I just recently looked at some data that has talked about you dropped below Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade had grew a little bit larger because there's been a decrease, and it's across the board, but there's been a decrease in student enrollment. And I know you've probably seen that at your school as well. Talk to me a little bit about like some of the, I guess, what are some things people don't know about Chicago public schools or that are important to like anyone coming into this space?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I found out is it's very segregated, and I don't know that people understand. You know, Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in the world, right? And when you look at just the data of Chicago public schools, it's not very diverse either, and that's reflected in the schools, but it's not until you're face to face with the entire student body of one population of students that you realize, wow, like, this is insane. I'm very fortunate. At my school, we actually have faculty that are black. You know, the majority of the teachers are black and the administration team is black, so that's really nice, but that's also not a reality for most of the schools as well, and another big reason that I wanted to push to stay in education.
Yeah, and then you mentioned getting into leadership. What do you feel like some of your your most important things that you've learned from being an educator that you want to translate into administration, what are some of the most important things you think that you will be as a leader?
Yeah, so I started my student teaching during one of the first teacher strikes in CPS, and then a few months later we went into COVID, and I had not a great experience with my administration team. I was kind of left to fend for myself, and while I'm grateful for the experience because I did become a better educator, you know, you're in a room with 25 plus kids, you're gonna figure it out. But at the end of the day, I wanted a leader who could shape me because those first couple of years are so pivotal to your success as an educator that it would have been really nice to have someone watching and molding and guiding me through all of that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you talked about going into teaching during the teacher strike as well as COVID, right? And so we know that that was tough on not only students but teachers and families.
Right.
And so you joined the Teacher Wellness PLC. Talk to me a little bit about some of your initial wants to even join that PLC.
Yeah, I mean, I saw BMEA and I got really excited about it because any opportunity to connect with other, Black educators is amazing. But to focus on my mental health, the biggest thing for me is I want to be able to do the work well. I don't want to just show up to work every day, right? I want to be able to do it well, and I feel like I need to take care of my mental health in order to continue to do this. Because it's not easy. I don't think anyone thinks that it's easy, but you have to figure out how to make it manageable for yourself. And that's some of the things that I'm learning from the fellowship.
No, absolutely. I'm glad you learned that already from the fellowship. I think that when we talk about recruiting more brothers into this space, I think that it's good that they hear your story about how you got into it and that passion that you have, but also how to stay, right? What do you need to take? So what would be maybe just one piece of advice you would give to anybody who's in their first year or thinking about joining education, especially as a Black man? What would be some of your advice?
Okay, so my first year teaching, we started online completely, and then we shifted in person. This is not great, but every day I would look at the window and be I could just jump out and run, take my train home in my day. But I stuck it out, and I think that especially now, I feel like there are a lot of easy way outs. I'm glad that people are prioritizing their mental health, but in life, and the same thing I tell my kids, sometimes you just have to do the hard thing and then it'll get better. But if you don't stick it out, it's not gonna get better. Yeah. So my advice to any future educator would be, stick it out because it will get better and you'll get better at it.
And so what is the one thing that's helped you outside of obviously the support and the wellness? What's one thing that drives you to continue to do the work that you do?
Students. That's super easy. Yeah, you get to see them learn. I taught first grade originally, and watching a kid struggle with letters to putting full sentences together, it's just there's no comparison. It's an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. My last question for you, man, because I think that we all recognize that schools and the community still have somewhat of a disconnect, right? And I think part of it is that just the underrepresentation of Black men in the building, and then also families just not being as engaged as possible. What would you say is necessary for families to really kind of embrace, or the school to embrace families again as a community?
So I mean, twofold. One, I think that a lot of times families are not being met where they're at and assumed that they should know or do certain things. And then another thing is we have to be the people to meet them where they're at, but then raise that expectation for them, The story from this year, I guess, one of my kids taught me the word glizzy, which can mean hot dog or, gun, right? And I had to sit with him and talk to him about, what that meant. And I think that was the first time that he had actually had a conversation about, some of the colloquialisms that he was using in his life. And it was the first time that he had used it in an academic setting. And I have not had an issue with getting him to engage for the rest of the year because he understands now that he is a part of this as well. And I think it's the same thing with the families. You don't have to, go around talking about glizzies, but you have to find a way to connect what feels disconnected from a lot of the families in these communities that we work in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And well, listen, I want to thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you again.
I appreciate you being a part of the fellowship.
Of course.
And I hope that, you know, the rest of the school year is a blessing. I hope you enjoy the conference. It's been really some really good sessions I've been in there today. So thank you again for joining us. And thank you guys for joining the Black Male Educators Alliance, our Black Male Educators Experience, the BMEA Podcast. Yeah, so it was great. It was great being able to sit down with him, and I hope he keeps doing what he's doing. I'm glad the teacher fellowship is going to really support his thing. We need brothers like that in those spaces. Yep. So, hey, it's been a great episode.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. We're going to continue to highlight more educators as we go on to our next podcast. I'm really interested in that podcast when we're talking about social media and also just the students mindset.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready for it. We're going to get that going.
But yeah, so it was great. We appreciate you guys joining us. Just some reminders real quick. We'll be back next week with IG Live on the 4th. So make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock. Make sure you purchase your tickets for the BMEA Gala, June 3rd, 6 o'clock at the Charles Wright Museum. Make sure you go to the website, blackmaleeducatorsalliance.org/gala to purchase your tickets. Or if you want to be a sponsor, please. Obviously, all the funding goes to funding our organizations, our PLCs, as well as our mentoring programs. So, and if you are looking for a school partnership, interested in the work that we do in schools, creating this wellness, creating these workplace practices, working on building a better community in your school, please reach out to us as well. Get in contact with us through the website. Do you have any last?
No, man.
Okay. Well,
take care. Be safe.
Take care. Be safe. Be well. This has been the BMEA Podcast. Peace.
You are now listening to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.